All right. Hello. Thank you guys for coming. We are so glad that you're here. So we have a good crowd. You guys look good. This is STEM So What? And I'm sure that you guys all know STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. And this is an event that we do a couple times a semester. We bring in speakers just to kind of try and give you an opportunity to see how all the things that you're learning in your classes are actually being used in the real world, give you an idea about careers and what people are doing with all the things that you're learning. So I'm glad that you chose to come and experience this. As we've been going through, hopefully you saw lots of information about clubs was going through there. We have a lot of wonderful STEM clubs, and we'll put that back up at the end if you didn't get to see it, so that you can take a look at that. Just another way for you to get involved. And I teach math here at TCC, and of course, as a math instructor, I know how important the things that I'm teaching you in the classroom are, and I know that is true for all the instructors here, but you can learn a lot of other things here at TCC outside of the classroom by coming to events like this and by joining clubs. So just be sure you're keeping your eyes out for stuff like that. Again, kudos to you for doing it tonight, right? With that, I want to give just a minute for clubs. I know we have at least one student club where the leader is here, but and so I'm going to call you out. Pi Club, do you want to make an announcement for us? What's going on with Pi Club? Yeah.
You just mean to,
You got to stand up.
I'll go to the front or whatever.
Yeah.
What's up, guys? My name is Chandler Haney, and I'm president of the Pi Club. And we take meetings every Thursday, and we're also recruiting. So if y'all want to join and get involved, y'all could hit me up, and I can add y'all to the Pi Club. So, yeah. 11 a.m. on Thursdays. But we're trying to add Tuesdays, 11 a.m. as well. So, yeah. I'm also treasurer of the Northwest IT Club. So, I mean, hey, if y'all want to get into the IT Club, y'all can hit me up about that too. So, yeah. My name's Chandler. Yeah. I mean, I do my... Oh, 4:10 p.m. Yeah, 4:10 p.m. Y'all should pull up. Yeah. IT Club. Yes, sir. He's a member too. But, all right, but that's it.
Good job, thank you. And we have the chemistry club here.
All right, I've never really used this thing, so I'm gonna try my best not to be so loud. Hello, my name is Jesse. One of the things we're hoping to do with Chem Club is introduce an ACS. ACS is kind of like a research institution, different types of opportunities that way. We're hoping to have more individuals get more interested in chemistry, because chemistry is in everything. Literally, it's in, culinary stuff, it's in biomechanics, it's in hardware, it's in everything. So it's nice to be a part of that, and we're hoping to more do research within the school, and maybe even conduct research in the spring. The meetings are on Mondays bi-weekly, so it's very feasible, 3:30 to 4:30 at NW05. Yeah, thank you, Frank. And just quick reminder, ACS stands for American Chemical Societal. So even though you become a member, it's gonna go with you throughout your university career. So just to let you guys sync with that.
Are there any other student clubs represented? Anybody? Oh, sweet, come on up.
Hello. Okay. Nice to meet everyone. I am Nakul Tanwar, the president of the Bio Club. So, vice president. Yeah, so the overall purpose of this club for now, it's just a general sense. We're trying to expose more people to bio. I think there's a pretty almost fear aspect of it, and we're trying to just introduce people and make it a more pleasurable experience. So anybody who's in medicine is interested, please join. We meet every other Tuesday. Our next meeting is October 8th from 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. NW05. The room is on the 3rd floor. So if anybody's interested, please let me know. Thank you.
All right, last chance. Anybody else? Okay. Well, then we are glad you are here. Will you go to the next slide? And I'm going to, you guys, if you can see the TV okay, that we're going to have slides up there, but some of the slides are going to have pretty small writing on it. And so if you would like, you can use this QR code to get to the LibGuide, and then you'll be able to follow along with the PowerPoint on your own device for anything that you can't see. And then on top of that, that has everything for tonight's event, but it also has our past STEM So What events. So if you're curious what we've done in the past, you can take a look at that. And this is the LibGuide. It's set up by our library. And if you didn't notice when you came in, there's a wonderful library table just in the back that you'll want to make sure you check out before you leave. They have physical books as well as ebooks that are on that table that are available to check out about cybersecurity. And you can check it out right now. You don't have to go to the library later. So make sure you check that out, and be sure and check out the LibGuide. And then it doesn't feel like it outside right now, but it is October. We are officially in the fall, and did you know, you guys probably do because you're here, October is Cybersecurity Month. All right, and so because of that, we are celebrating Cybersecurity Month, and I'm going to invite our wonderful IT department chair to come and tell you all about tonight's speaker.
I'll just use this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Keep it coming, yeah. So, hey, thank you all for being here. I really do appreciate it. I'm Greg in the IT department, and I have is this too much? Right about now. I have the distinct pleasure of introducing you to Kyla. I've been saying her name over and over again. I was so worried I was going to get it wrong. Saylor from Blackswan Cybersecurity. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Kyla. She is at Blackswan Cybersecurity. She is their project manager and Power BI specialist. She is also the Cyber Defense Center 501c3 nonprofit program director and board secretary. She also has many other positions, including open source investigations, social media account recovery, and security best practices. Practice good cyber hygiene, everyone. Tabletop exercises, training program development, and assist in marketing and communications. I don't know how she fits it all in, and she still had time to come here and talk to us. Kyla holds a diploma in project management and certifications in Power BI, project management, nonprofit grants and donations, and board management. And most importantly, for you all being here, Kyla has worked with cyber and IT students and professionals for over 7 years. So she really knows the industry. She kind of knows, about students, where you are in your career. Many of you, are in that kind of job market trying to fill out what is it I'm going to do with my degree. And she's going to talk about how to get into cybersecurity. And she's just an absolute wealth of information. So without further ado, please help me welcome Kyla Saylor.
A little shorter. All right, can y'all hear me? I can't hear myself, so there it goes. Okay. Thank you, Greg. If we can get the slides up. I'm nervous, so bear with me. All right, so I'm going to go over cybersecurity training paths and what employers are looking for in entry-level candidates, which is very vague, but work with me. All right, so as Greg said, I'm the programs director and board secretary at Cyber Defense Center, which is a nonprofit focused on training, education, and research. It was founded in 2011 with the same goal of trying to bridge the gap between education and getting into the workforce, as well as the project manager and Power BI specialist for Blackswan. My job changes daily, which is a lot of fun. If we can go to the next slide. There we go, this one. All right, so the Cyber Defense Center was founded to help students get guided access to cybersecurity practitioners and hands-on real-world experience. So when it was originally founded, it was founded because we couldn't find the people who could do what we wanted them to do. And so why not bring them in, train them up, have them do it our way, and then hire them on from there. In doing that, we noticed a lot of them didn't want to stay with us because there were cooler jobs out there, and that's understandable. Through this, we've helped over 2,000 students gain hands-on experience, and over 80% of them got entry-level jobs. So I think that's pretty impressive. There we go. We good now? Okay. I'm very soft-spoken, so I apologize. Blackswan Cybersecurity was founded in 2020 by the same person that founded Cyber Defense Center. Him and a couple colleagues in the industry wanted to come together and build a company that was for the small guys. Maybe it's a church or a school district or a nonprofit credit union, and they can't afford a lot of the services for what they need. So we came up with Blackswan, and we make fit-for-purpose solution-based services. So if you only need a small bit of this giant piece, then we'll make that small bit work. And if we can't do it, we'll work with other people in the industry to make sure that they get the services that they need. My favorite thing about Blackswan is we have a cyber fusion center. Does anybody know what that is? No? Okay. Does anybody know what a SOC is? Okay, we got a few people. A SOC is a security operations center. So that's where all of the data for our clients come in. We monitor, we make sure nothing weird or scary is happening. And we go through and we analyze all that information, and we give it back to our client saying, hey, everything's good. You might want to update this. You might want to take this offline, or there's something seriously happening. Our Cyber Fusion Center pulls that in along with 4 other things. We do threat intelligence, threat hunting. We do XDR through our SIM platform, which is just a fancy way of saying AI-generated threat hunting, as well as we learn about their environment and we learn what's normal and what's not normal. So if it's normal for me to log in from Hawaii once a month, we'll stop telling the client that someone's on my account. Is that good? Okay. All right, so with Cyber Defense Center and Blackswan working together, there is a case study, by the way, on the nonprofit's website, uscyberdefensecenter.org. Kind of goes over the different ways that we work together to help students get into the industry. So one of the key challenges we identified was the limited opportunities for young adults to gain practical skills and experience. Our solution to that was offering a range of services and programs. Like we have our intern program. Anybody is welcome to join that is over the age of 16. As long as you have a car, you're pretty much good. And you get to come in and work with your peers, and you get to talk to industry professionals. And when we have the chance to, we bring in a lot of our network to come talk to you guys and answer any questions you may have, or maybe walk through some of the current trends or a current investigation or whatever they're working on. As I mentioned earlier, the impact in that is we have trained over 2,000 participants, with 80% of them successfully getting entry-level roles. Also on this slide is a little bit of a breakdown of a program that is strictly between Blackswan and CDC. We started an 8-week mentorship program that has an application process. That way we can pair you right with the right mentor. So if you're interested in threat hunting, we'll put you with an employee who likes threat hunting. If you like more of the OSINT investigation, we'll pair you with somebody who does more of the OSINT side, or even pen testing, vulnerability assessments. You name it, we got it, we'll find it. In doing that, we had 27 participants since 2020. Out of those, 9 needed a second round, which is usually just a technical understanding, or they don't understand how to use our platform, and so it's just a quick little fix. 6 of those were deemed hireable, but unfortunately we did not have the space to hire them at the time. and 12 were hired on right after the program. So I think that's pretty cool that almost 66% in the program was hired. Of the 6 that were deemed hireable, 4 of them did get hired on at partners. So we try our best to make sure that all the resources we have are utilized. All right, so I talked a little bit about the intern program. One of the things that I like that we do is we ask you what you're interested in before you start the program. As you can see, there's a ton of different options. And my favorite one is the tallest one, and it's the not sure column. I like that because that means I get to sit with you and I don't have to change your mind and I don't have to argue with you over why you're wrong. And it's not that you're wrong in being interested in it, it's that everybody wants to come into cyber and they want to do something cool. They want to be a hacker, they want to be on the red team, they want to break into things, they want to solve the next vulnerability crisis. I'm like, that's great, but where else do you want to go? Because that can't be your only focus. So like I said, not sure is my favorite. But in doing this, filling this out lets me know how to help you. So we have a different setup for different people. So if you're interested in more of the red team versus the blue team, maybe you're purple team and you want to do a little bit of both. I also work with you to get to know you. So what are some skills that you already have that are transferable? So are you creative? Are you intuitive? Do you like analyzing things? Okay, well, let's start you here, and let's maybe start with an analyst, or let's start with forensics, and then I'll move you over into something more cool and more fun within the program. So these are the 4 steps that I walk every intern through. We go over what skills do you currently have, so technical skills. Maybe it's an understanding of systems. Maybe you're good at troubleshooting things when things break. Maybe you're into coding, or maybe you do like analyzing data, because I do, and that's one of my favorite pastimes. And then soft skills. Are you good at communication, good at teamwork, problem solving? Do you take initiative on tasks even whenever, maybe your procrastination's fighting you on them? And then do you have good leadership skills? So in a group of people, who are you? Are you the one that bands everybody together and tries to set up a plan and get things done? Or are you kind of just like, whatever you guys want to do? Both are fine, but I need to know those things. That way I can help you kind of get to where you want to be. The second is interests. Are you the CIA agent, FBI investigator of the friend group? Do you like to solve puzzles? Do you like urgent situations? So maybe you like playing Black Ops and you're the ringleader of all the players in your team, right? Maybe you like more of the risk management and strategy, and you enjoy assessing vulnerabilities. So that kind of looks like Dungeons and Dragons or playing Monopoly, right? And then I look at your personality traits. So if you're a curious person and you're interested in learning everything and you're just a human sponge, that's awesome. But at the same time, if you're very niche and I like this one thing, that's fine too. But if I know those things, I can help you get to where you need to be. And then career path and training. I don't have a formal degree, but that's because I went to school for culinary, and then I decided I didn't like people telling me how to cook when they were wrong. And it wasn't for me, but I like taking certificates. And so I have a ton of certificates, and it was enough for what I wanted to do. I wanted to work with people. I wanted to understand systems. I liked data. You don't need a degree to understand people unless you want to go into it professionally and maybe a therapist or a psychiatrist. So those are some things to look at when it comes to your degree plan. Make sure you're doing something that's tangible to what you want. When it comes to certifications, that's when you can focus on, I'm blanking on the word, but kind of honing in on a specific field or a specific role. And then hands-on experience. I know in cyber that seems a little impossible, but there are amazing tools if you learned good Google foo. That's my favorite phrase. If you're an intern with me, you hear it all the time. Learning how to research and find resources for yourself is huge. My job is figure it out because nobody else could. So a lot of the times I'm on Google, I go to Bing, I go to Firefox's default browser, I go to forums through Reddit, and I find the answers I need to find. Recently, it was through Telegram, and it was this whole thread about people arguing over why they're right and you're wrong. And I'm like, you're both right. It helped me out. And then there's websites out there for hands-on applications, whether it's specifically cyber or maybe you're interested in policy writing at a cyber company. There's sites for that. There's ways to practice it. There's really niche YouTube videos that will teach you how to do those things. And then this is to put them all together. So maybe your skills lie more on the technical side, and your interests are puzzles and coding and analysis, and your personality traits are analytical and detail-oriented, and you're very logical. There is no gray in the world. It is very black and white. You might be suitable for a penetration tester, a security analyst, or a threat hunter, versus if you're stronger on the soft skills, like communication, you're good at teaching people or collaborating with groups, and you're very empathetic and outgoing, and you have strong leadership skills, you might be better for an awareness trainer or a consultant or even a project manager. Or if you're really good at problem solving under pressure, you like fast-paced environments and real-time defense, you like the quick action, quick result, and you're calm under pressure, you're decisive, you're resilient, you might be great for an incident response analyst, a SOC analyst, or security operations. And there's a couple other ones, but we'll move on. We'll go to the fun one. So a penetration tester and what they look like. So if you're familiar with the Myers-Briggs personality types, I did include those, but it basically breaks down to curiosity, persistence, creativity, skepticism, analytical mindset, if you're self-reliant, and there's a couple others on there, and you're good at problem solving, teamwork, critical thinking. Non-cyber hobbies might be competitive games, puzzles, trying to figure out how things work, or DIY gadgets, and maybe you're like my dad and he took the toaster apart to figure out how to fix it and then broke it in the process and then did the same thing to the radio and then the TV and then his dad's car, and he just wanted to know how it worked. You might be really good at something like penetration testing or even something in the red team field. A successful cybersecurity professional is defined by the combination of critical thinking, adaptability, and strong ethical foundation. So when it comes to a pen tester, their natural curiosity and hands-on approach drive them to continuously develop their skills. And then what does a penetration tester do? Well, they perform tests on applications, network devices, and cloud infrastructures. I know that's very high tech, but that's about as simple as I can put them. They love experimenting and research in their job because their job is to figure out how the bad guys think, and I think that's the coolest thing on the planet. They review code, they reverse engineer malware or spam, they automate common testing techniques. They also write reports and communicate that to executive and technical people. So part of being a pen tester is being able to talk to someone like me who's not technical. I can't go hack into anybody I want, but they can also talk to another pen tester and make complete sense. Pen testers work in-house. They work at a security firm. They also do freelance. A lot of the pen testers I work with are contractors. They work when they want. They can tell me no. They can also tell me how much they want to charge for their services. And as I brought up earlier, ways to practice. If you want to be a pen tester, there's Hack the Box, Try Hack Me, Hack.me, WebGoat, and then there's online bug bounty lists. So Microsoft is known for a lot of bugs in their systems. They also pay a lot of money if you find it before it becomes public. And by a lot of money, I mean like 6 figures. So those are ways to go practice your skills without having a job, without having an internship, and without having a degree. There's also certifications like Pen Test Plus. I would still recommend getting a Security Plus and a Net Plus just for foundational understanding. And then there's like the obvious one, Certified Penetration Tester. And then there's more important parts of it, which is networking. I know most people in IT are shy and introverted, like me. networking with people in the industry is huge. A lot of the pen testers that I know got the job because they were talking to somebody I worked with. And they were like, hey man, are you interested in this? And they said, yeah, I'd like to try it. And they're like, well, we have a project coming up. You wanna step in? And they got paid for it. And now they're a signed on contractor for freelance work. Networking and memberships is huge. So if y'all have heard of Dallas Hackers Association, or ISC Squared, FBI Citizens Academy. There's also FBI InfraGuard. Those are all really good ones to join. The FBI ones, of course, require a background check, but that's okay. And then there's conferences, there's happy hours, there's lunch and learns. I find all the lunch and learns by going to all the service providers in the industry. So if y'all have ever heard of Stellar Cyber or Securonics, they're SIM platform providers. They put on lunch and learns every month, and all of my interns go to them, and they meet these cool people, and they have all these opportunities. So that's a really big one. Conferences, if you want to start applying to jobs and you want to go apply for a specific company, go look to see if that they have a conference. Because you can go up to the booth, you can ask questions, you can see what they're all about, you can kind of get a vibe for what the company culture is going to be like. All right, so career planning. So once we've kind of sat down, we figured out your personality, what you're interested in, what some of your skills are, whether they're technical or soft skills, you can kind of get a good idea for roles that you would be a good fit for. You also want to leverage emerging industry trends. Does anybody know what quantum computing is? I'm proud of y'all. That's That is a great question, and I would love to find an answer for you, but I do not personally know it. But if you know quantum computing or you're capable of doing quantum computing, that is a very lacking skill right now. It's something that not a lot of people have, and if you're even interested in learning about it, that's a great thing to continue doing, because that makes you the top 1%, basically. Zero trust architecture, that means a lot of security awareness, but looking at that from the back end. So if I'm telling you change your passwords, don't click on links, try not to access weird looking websites, well, what's the back end of that looks like? So what am I letting into my network? What's allowed to sign on to the Wi-Fi? What kind of devices are my employees using? Are they ours or are they personal? To get that zero trust. Think of it as like a clean room at a hospital. You're in the ICU. That's a zero trust architecture. And then data-driven career pathing. There are a ton of tools out there. My favorite two are CyberSeek and Nix. Nix is through the NICE Institute. They also partner with CISA, and they kind of lay out everything super easy to follow. So like Nix, you can go and you can click on a specific job. You can see the knowledge, the skills, the abilities, and the tasks that that role has. And you can kind of go through and see where you align and where you need to work on, and also see what some of the metrics are. So like whether you'd be a beginner, an intermediate, or an advanced. So you can kind of use that as a rubric for planning out your career. Also keep up to date with industry projections. ISC Squared, SANS Institute, and Cybersecurity Ventures are great. They send out yearly reports with a lot of research and analysis into the different aspects within the industry. And then stay curious and up to date. Cyber is an ever-changing field. The skills that I had yesterday are no longer really valid today. So if I figured out how to break into a Facebook account yesterday, today it's fixed. So trying to stay ahead of all the changes is extremely important. If you're not learning something every day, you're doing something wrong, kind of deal. And then I always recommend setting up a home lab. You can go onto GitHub, you can go onto YouTube, LinkedIn even, and there's tons of resources to how to set up a home lab, and all you need is a cell phone and a computer. If you don't have that, you can do it at the library, create a virtual machine, delete it when you're done. And then follow cybersecurity related news, attacks, patches, updates, people in the industry who talk about those things all the time. just to kind of have a solid understanding of what today looks like and what tomorrow is going to look like. And then some findings from Dr. Mike Saylor's dissertation on the study of qualitative factors influencing the cybersecurity workforce deficit. It's a mouthful. Basically, it's the deficit between college education and industry companies who are looking for candidates. In this study, it found that it is not the student's fault and it is not the company's fault for the deficit. So the companies are like, there's all these empty jobs, why is there no talent? And all this talent's going, why are there no jobs? Well, it's because they're not talking the same language. So part of this study was to kind of see what resources were available to companies and what resources were available to students, and trying to see where the issue was. Let's go to the next one. All right, so the results of the study found that the primary root cause and most impactful factor contributing to the cybersecurity workforce deficit was the absence of a standard. So when you go to school and you get a cybersecurity degree, you're taught A to Z. Well, these companies are like, well, yeah, it's like X, Y, LMNO, ABC, right? And you're like, no, but it's the same thing, but not understood. So as someone who's sat in an HR chair, I'm like, ooh, that degree looks nice. Ooh, that certification's pretty. But I'm going, why am I asking for a Security Plus for an IT role? I should be looking at Net Plus. Why am I asking entry-level people to have a security analyst certification? They haven't even had the job yet. And so it's trying to come up with defining the roles clearly to where education and the company can be on the same page. And that also goes back to the NICE framework with NICS. Here's some statistics from the study. So 100% of people who were polled, I guess, did not have access to internships or apprenticeships to gain entry-level experience. So whether that was the company being polled and they did not have a program or did not have a partner who had one, or if it was an applicant who did not have access. Only 20% had a formal process for defining a cybersecurity job role, which is scary. And 100% were not familiar with the cybersecurity workforce frameworks. 100% of the job seekers did not feel that a degree should be more valuable than experience. And I agree with that one. And then none of the job seekers polled received feedback from hiring organizations who did not select them. None of the job applicants polled felt confident in the cybersecurity job screening process. So it's not just you guys having a hard time getting into any industry right now, it's the disconnect between a degree and expectations. So part of this study was going over the NICS framework. And I like this framework because it's what I walk with my interns through. I go, okay, what sounds cool? Do you want to do oversight in governments, design and develop? Do you want to protect and defend? And working through that, we can go through different roles in those different categories. It also helps me split them up between IT, cyber, threat intelligence, and I'm blanking on the other one, but it kind of just bubbles around the whole thing. Okay, so clicking into this one, it kind of drops down. I know it's really hard to read, but it goes defensive cybersecurity analyst, digital forensics, incident response, infrastructure support, threat analysis, and vulnerability analysis. So those all fall under this one category. When you click into them, you can see the different tasks, knowledge, skills, abilities that tie into this role. It shows you how it connects to other roles in cybersecurity. So maybe this role has an 80% relevance to another role, or maybe it only has a 10% relevance. So if you're career planning, and like I said, maybe you want to be that pen tester, well, how do I get there? Well, you can work backwards or you can work your way up to it. This is their other tool, which I find a lot more fascinating. This one shows you how everything interconnects with each other, how everything touches and works together. And you can click on the bubbles and it does pretty much what I just described, where it shows you how it connects to other roles. Depending on how big the bubble is how close to that role it is. There's also a percentage once you kind of drop down to the filters in the middle. But it goes over any details, so it tells you how it's categorized, related projects or related titles in the industry, which is another issue. Sometimes you're a project coordinator, sometimes you're a project associate, sometimes you're a project manager, and you're like, they're all the same thing. But you don't know to apply for it because it doesn't sound right. So clicking into it a little bit more, you kind of see it. I like this one because it shows you the capability indicators. It shows you what an entry-level candidate should be at, whether it's education, skills, or experience. It shows you what an expert would look like and how to measure yourself against that. I like it too because it also shows you your value. So maybe you go through this metrics and you realize, I'm intermediate and I just graduated college. Well, now when you're in the job field, you know where you lie compared to other candidates. They also have micro challenges. So maybe it sounds interesting and you want to try something that maybe that role would do. You can do the micro challenges. They're 5 minutes at most. They're all online. I did it on my phone. It sucked because it was on my phone. Did it again on the computer and it was great. And I think it had me do like a packet tracer task. And I kind of giggled because I was like, that was easy. But they're meant to be simple. It's meant to show you what it looks like, what some of the tasks would be similar to, and it can kind of test your knowledge. Do you fully understand what was happening? Because I didn't. I just dragged and dropped and copy-pasted and I was done. But I didn't know what I was doing. If I knew what I was doing, I think I would have had a better understanding of what the role would truly be doing. All right, now the fun part. So what makes a standout candidate? What I look for is somebody who's personable and unique and individual. If I get 4 applications in the row that look like ChatGPT spit them out, I'm probably not going to think any of them are exemplary, or I'm probably not going to give their resume or their application a second read. Not because it wasn't great, it's just, okay, next, okay, next. Personable applications could be I'm excited, or using actionable words that add personality to your application. So if you do want to apply for my internship, I apologize now. I have a long application on purpose. I ask questions like, what do you hope to get out of this internship? What are your expectations? What are your concerns? What are some things that you want to work on? And I do that on purpose because if you don't sound excited, I'm going to have to help you get to where you need to be a lot faster than if you joined the program, you already had an idea, you already had a plan, a vision. I can kind of just set you free with the tools, and I'm there to guide you, but not necessarily walk you through it. Unique initial contact. I've met interns at conferences. I've met them at the mall. I've met them at the movies, at a gas station, at a swim meet, a lot of weird places, but they're memorable because I'm like, oh yeah, you're the swim meet guy, right? Yeah. And it sticks to me because then I'm going to go review your application again. I'm going to go give it a second look. I might reach out to you and say, hey, just did this. I had a couple questions. It makes it more personable. It makes it more open for conversation or suggestions in the meantime. It also goes in the reverse. Maybe I'm busy and I've had 50 applications and it's the beginning of a semester. I got a greeting card from an applicant. And that kind of took me back because I was like, that's interesting. But I went back and I reviewed it, and they didn't have any experience. They didn't have a cyber degree. They weren't in a cyber program. They were in the middle of a career change, in the middle of moving to a new state, and they wanted to make sure that their application was viewed and it didn't get thrown out. They got into the program because that showed that they wanted it. Qualities of value, going the extra mile. If they ask for 3 references, send them 4. If they ask for a cover letter, make it good, make it personable, make it exciting. Don't ChatGPT it. And then candidates who have stood out have used the technique following the lead. So I always asked, are there any questions or concerns about the internship? Well, some of the questions could be, what did your career look like and how could this internship help me get there? Or, hey, this is my brother's story and he got into cyber by this. Is it possible for me to do something similar? Just something to follow the lead and say, I'm looking for guidance, or something else to start the conversation before the interview even happens. In the interview, following the lead is great, because if I'm about to tell you about the role, you say, that's great, I like the role, yada, yada, and they go, well, what could you provide to our company? What would make you better suited for this role than other candidates? We'll take that and go, well, what did your career look like, and what are some of the things that you were able to do? And I'll figure out how to do that in my role. So that question's a hard question, and I know it because I've been through it, and I have to ask that question, and I see the eyes go dead behind them every time. But if I ask you what would make you a good intern, well, it's the opportunity to learn. It's the opportunity to succeed. It's the opportunity to learn how to do new things and work with new people. That stands out more than, well, what do you mean? And then what to avoid, like I mentioned earlier, generic or repetitive applications. I say that as in a one person who has to review about 400 applications a year, not just for internships, but for security roles. I can tell that they use this resume for this job, and this job, and this job, and this job, and this job, because it all has all the keywords everywhere. Versus taking off any irrelevant job experience. Like, I worked as an event coordinator at a gymnastics place, and I had to chase after children, but that's not on my resume. Should be. That's an achievement, but it's not, because it's not relevant to the jobs that I would be applying for. Anything that with relevance is what needs to be on there. So if that means you have 2 lines on your resume, so be it. Add in the skills, add in the experience, add in the home labs, the certifications, things that you're looking into, and that fills up your resume pretty quickly. Because, I don't want to review a 2-page resume, but if it's a 2-page portfolio of projects and opportunities and certifications, I'm going to read it and I'm going to think, holy cow, this dude's been busy. And then things or common mistakes, lack of communication skills. If I send you an email saying, hey, I have a question about your application, I noticed a few of these things were missing, and it takes you a week and a half to get back to me, I've already moved on. I don't have time because you don't have time. And I have to give the benefit of the doubt of, oh, maybe they're just not interested anymore. And then not following instructions. That is my big pet peeve. If my application says to give me 3 emails for 3 recommendation letters, and you give me 1, or you say, oh, I already have them, I still want the 3 emails. It's still gonna happen. If you go on LinkedIn and they say, please send your resume to this email, or please apply on our website, and you apply through LinkedIn, you're already out of there. So please follow instructions for my sanity and those of everybody else. And then my advice is to embrace every challenge. And I say that because it's a learning opportunity. Every time you fall down, there's at least 5 or 6 lessons there. How not to fall on your elbow. Maybe catch yourself with your pinky next time, because that's a more, feasible break. If you're gonna slip and fall, make it big. And then take initiative in your learning. So if there's an opportunity to learn something and you're not interested in it, but you have the time and the capacity to do it, do it. That's how I have half of the experience I have. Like, sitting in on tabletops, taking notes, I had no idea what a tabletop was. And then I sat through it and I was like, oh, this is like a game. This is kind of fun. And now I do it all the time and I enjoy it. And I bring up points that maybe the tabletop lead didn't know. But by the way, tabletops are like basically Dungeons and Dragons. Here's a scenario, run with it. What do you do? And you're working with IT, you're working with legal, you're working with lawyers, insurance, whatever, and they're all fighting over who's right and what they're gonna do and what's the plan and who do we call. It's a lot of fun. But But if you say no, you miss out. You might not know you like it. It sounds boring, but then the minute you do it, you're like, this is kind of cool. Or if you don't like it, cool, check it off your list. Don't want to do that. But it adds to your resume. It adds to your experience. It adds to your credibility. Your journey will be unique. It will not look like the person to your left or to your right. My journey especially wasn't planned. I was supposed to go to college. I was supposed to be a chef. I'm not a chef. Well, to that man over there I am, but it's not what ended up happening. And then please tailor your resume and your cover letter per job. Not per company, not per role, not per type of job, not per industry, per company, per job. Anything in your experience, so like when you list, well, I managed 25 people under the care of blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, is that relevant? Take it out. But maybe line 2 is relevant, keep it in. Like, get real granular with your resume. And then with your cover letter, go do research. Go do an OSINT research, find out all the dirt about the company, go to Glassdoor, maybe connect with some people on LinkedIn, do some social engineering, do what you need to do. And then write your cover letter, because maybe the hiring manager loves cats. And it's like, I just want to provide a better life for my cat, and it pulls her heartstrings and you get the job. You never know. It's been that simple. You're laughing, but it's true. But do your research. I mean, I've talked to people over and over and over again, and HR feels like a robot, but also when HR is reviewing resumes, they feel like they're reading robots. So make it personable, make it stand out, make it different, make it exciting to read, make it sound like a fairy tale come true. Like, when I join this company, I'm gonna change everything for the better. I'd be like, yes, and then Google is your lifelong friend. Our coined phrase of Google foo is important. If I didn't know how to research, I wouldn't have a job, because a lot of it is, Kyla, can you do this? And I'm like, yeah. And then I go figure out how to do it. And usually it's in a weekend because it's due Monday. If you're not early, you're late. And I say that with some slight undertone. If you join the meeting for our interview for the internship program 15 minutes early, you'll have time to email me if the link isn't working. You'll have time to figure out if your mic and your speakers are working. You can figure out if there's some Wi-Fi issues. All before I join the call and wait 15 minutes for you to join, or for you to email me saying, hey, sorry. It's like, hey, well, you just wasted my time and your time as well, when I literally could have conducted this email with a phone call 15 minutes ago and we could have been done by now. Same thing for showing up with an interview. Show up early if it's in person. Maybe they're running late. Maybe they had a flat tire on the highway just like you did on the way there and you're both late. Be early. Plan ahead, because knowing me and my luck, I'm gonna have a flat tire on the way to my next interview, and AAA ain't not gonna save me. And then stay organized. Every time you apply to a job, an internship, you learn how to do something, track it. Start an Excel sheet, make it your life timeline. I applied to Capital One on August 3rd, and here's the resume I used, here's the cover letter I used, here's the email it's tied to, and then if you heard back or not. I learned how to do A, B, or C on this website through this lab, and I scored this much on this test. Track it. It's not only going to help you with time management or figuring out if you've already learned something. As somebody who holds 5 project management certificates, start tracking. I forget that I've already taken one and I take it again, and now I have more. And then advice to my younger self. I think it's pretty obvious I'm pretty young, so it's more of what would I tell myself yesterday, and I would probably tell these things to myself tomorrow. The importance of continuous learning, networking, and hands-on practice. That is more important than money, because if your value is less than what someone else's, you're gonna get overlooked. So if you can keep your skills sharp and your networking strong, and that means talking to professionals, connecting to them on LinkedIn, watching their YouTube videos, joining their Discord, whatever it may be, school clubs. I mean, who knows? I have an intern who started a FEMA club at UTD, and some kid from Collin College joined their FEMA club, and now they're in cybersecurity because they met the right person. So networking is huge. Don't get discouraged. There's new opportunities every day. You ever heard the phrase, when one door opens, another one, or one door closes, another one opens? Well, sometimes it's a window. You just got to look for it. Figure out what motivates you, what gets you out of bed in the morning, what makes you excited to go to work or go to school or for your future. Like for me, it's owning a ton of land with baby cows. And that's what makes me want to work harder, is I want baby cows. I want a big piece of land. I want a nice truck to drive. And I know that's weird, but it's what I want. Trust the process, not the timeline. I mean, my dad specifically has started over 3, 4, maybe 5 companies. And every time he learned something new. So he wasn't trying to match the timeline, he was trying to match the vision. And so he was trusting how long everything was going to take. He took every failure as an opportunity, and now he has a cybersecurity company, and it's doing great. So again, trust the process, not the timeline. I'm going to skip a few. Emotional intelligence and coping is crucial. So understanding when burnout's about to happen. Like, I'm somebody who can get overstimulated by somebody breathing the wrong way because I have all this going on up in my brain, and that breathing just icing on the cake. So learning on when those things start coming up and taking a step back, doing self-care, talking to the right people. If you have too much on your plate, just say, hey man, give me a day, let me move some stuff around, let me finish a few things, and then let's talk. That might even mean not talking to friends for a few days because you just needed to breathe. And then coping skills. What are some things that you do to help manage that? It could be exercise, it could be eating food, it could be going on a trip or a vacation. But understanding those things early on is important. And that's coming from somebody who has had burnout a lot. This past couple years have been better, but in the beginning, I didn't know how to say no. Hey, Kyla, can you do this? Sure. Kyla, can you do that? Sure. And then eventually I was like, no. And that was not the right way to say no. How to learn that too. So knowing when to say no, how to say no, and how to say no is really important. So yeah, there's a lot there. Does anybody have any questions so far?
So I know you were talking about the recommendation letter. Let's say you only have one person willing.
Hold on just a second. Will you use a mic so everybody can hear? Okay.
Regarding to the recommendation letter system that you were talking about, let's say you only have one individual willing to give you a recommendation, and they leave that 2 spots, and then they explain that to you.
That's different. But if they explain, hey, I only have one who's available right now who can get it to me by the deadline, is that okay? Yeah, that's fine. It's when I already have them, or they just send one, they don't explain, they don't take the initiative to solve the problem.
And then second, this is more theoretical, but within cloud computing, how important is it to protect the cloud within modern society and modern technology?
That's a really technical question. From what I understand is it's important. More in the sense of, like, if you take my iPad, right? This is my iPad. You can only mess with my iPad if you have access to my iPad, right? Versus the cloud, maybe that's me leaving my iPad over there. I only know the password. I only know what's on it. I only know how to get onto it, right? But it's right there. So when you're using stuff in the cloud, it's just as effectively insecure as the iPad. So I'd say it's pretty decently important.
So how do you put FRID protection on your iPads or anything device-wise?
That is a great question. I do not know, but I would be happy to get you connected with someone who does.
Thank you.
And yeah, as you have questions, put your hands up. Jeremy and John will come. And if you would like, if you ask a question, you could get a t-shirt or a notebook.
For somebody who's coming from the manufacturing and graphic designing and coding industry, what would you say? Would you say this would be a profession, something to look into? Is there something for people that are coming from the manufacturing industry that do graphic designing and know how to code with heavy machinery such as CNC? Do you see a field or a path in cybersecurity for that?
I actually had an intern who came from manufacturing, and she ended up turning it into a new role at a company. And what she was doing was making sure that the security aspects within that industry were up to par. Whether that's can you remote into a device or maybe a piece of machinery and how to protect that. So, I mean, there's ways to go around it and find new roles. But if you're into coding and you have good coding skills, there's a ton of things in cyber that you can do with that.
Yeah, I have a question. So, can you use IT in the medical field?
There's actually a lot of IT departments that either work for hospitals or in a lot of hospitals that have their own internal IT department.
Second question, how do I get in?
Into IT?
Yes.
There's a lot of companies that hire on apprentices and they teach them how to do IT related tasks. There's our internship where I could set you up with someone who does a lot of the IT within our company. But a good way to get started into it is looking at YouTube and a couple other online resources and trying to do some of that at home with smaller pieces of equipment. So maybe it's not a giant server, maybe it's a Wi-Fi router and an iPad. But learning how all those things interconnect with each other.
Thank you.
Hello. I have two questions first. So I noticed you had a very strong emphasis on making sure you stand out in the application process. What's another memorable way somebody has stood out in a very professional way?
So when I do the applications and I ask a ton of questions, there are ways to generically answer it. So if it's like, what in cyber interests you and what got you into cybersecurity, right? A lot of people go, well, cyber's cool, it's the new thing, it makes a lot of money, looks good on my resume. And there's other people who have maybe a personal tie to cybersecurity. Maybe their grandma got hacked and all of her money went away. And it's, I want to protect my family, my friends, and my neighbors from cyber attacks. Maybe it's, I was watching a friend do something on his computer and something happened and I want to make sure I understand what fully happened and I want to make sure to prevent those in the future. Using those types of answers are a lot more personable than, well, it's cool, which I get a lot.
All right, and as for my second question, I'm currently going into software engineering. What exactly would you advise somebody who would want to go into the application process to acquire a skill in, or at least look into learning? What exactly would help out in that department?
So software engineering is still very vague. There's a lot of different subcategories within that. There's a lot of different industries that you can go to in that. And so I would start researching the different aspects within that role and seeing what you really want to focus on. And then from there, either doing a home lab or finding somewhere that you can practice, like an internship or an apprenticeship, or even like a boot camp. So that way you can get that hands-on experience.
All right, thank you.
Hello. Hi. My question is similar to his, but you mentioned that personal brand matter. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? How we can work on it as a student, and also after we get a first job and to climb up the ladder?
Yeah, of course. Your personal brand is you. So that's your social media. That's how you interact with other people. It's your resume. It's how you've handled yourself in stressful situations. It's how you lead a group or a team. It's how you handle, I guess, nervousness. It's how you handle rejection. But putting that all together, if you go research me and you look at my Instagram, I might not match up in person. You're gonna go, she looks carefree and adventurous, and I'm actually a couch potato. So my personal brand has both of those things, but if a company doesn't know me, they're gonna go look at my social media, they're gonna go look at my LinkedIn, they're gonna go talk to people like people with reference letters, or maybe they're gonna call my employer, and how those people perceive me from that is my brand. And so I have to be careful on how I interact with other people. So your personal brand is kind of like a movie star, right? You have your favorite movie star and they have their brand and everything they touch is gold. That's basically you to employers.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Is this thing on? Thank you. I'm interested in user design, user interface design and experience. Is there a place in IT for that? Or is that more of some kind of conceptual area?
It would be a niche, but it's usable in a lot of different aspects. So in cybersecurity, maybe it's an application, and you're making it more user-friendly. You're making sure that it's set up properly, and you're working with the people on the back end, right? So you still have to kind of have some understanding of the front end, the back end of things. That can be IT, and it can be cyber, and it can just be app dev. But I mean, it's kind of figuring out which industry or which role you'd want to work in, and then from that, you can kind of do a little bit more research, or maybe find people in similar career paths, and then go from there.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Chandler, and what got you hired at Blackswan?
So in 2017, I was actually at Cyber Defense Labs, and I was bored, and I was waiting for my dad to get out of a meeting, and I walked past the HR lady's office, and I about had a panic attack at the state of her filing cabinets. And I pledged the whole summer to fixing her filing cabinets. And then she said, if you don't hire her, I quit. And that's how I got my first job in cyber.
Because of filing cabinets?
Yeah. No joke. And then from there, they let me go because they got rid of their educational department, because I ended up taking over the intern program. And then I got a job at Blackswan because I had already worked with a lot of those people.
That's interesting.
Hi. You mentioned, so I've talked to people in the field, and you mentioned it, that certificates are important, but you also mentioned stuff like bug bounty programs. How important would something like that be, the practical experience be in the resume?
So if you don't have any like work experience, but you have the certifications, you have the knowledge, that's where I would say more of maybe the capture the flag and the bug bounty programs would kind of make up for the lack of job experience. We got 3. We got 1 up here and 2 back there.
Put those hands high.
Hi, I'm Ramat. I kind of like think about it when I work in it, but I have 2 questions combined to one. What would a career in both cybersecurity law and I'm sorry, I'm nervous.
You okay?
Cybersecurity lore and policy writing look like?
Was the first part lawyer?
Yes.
Okay, so cyber law and cyber policy kind of go hand in hand. If you wanted to work in cyber law, you could work for like a private investigator, a law firm. You could work for a police department. For policy writing, almost every company needs a cyber policy writer and/or reviewer. You could work for insurance. Which you could do insurance for cyber law too. So they kind of go hand in hand. But I have an intern right now who's really interested in policy procedure writing. His actual master's is in criminology. And I'm like, why are you in cyber? That sounds so much more fun. And he said no. So we're working with him on figuring out how to get him into the cyber field. And so I mentioned like law enforcement, insurance, private investigation. You could also do policy and IT audits. What that does is make sure that they're compliant. So if they're a hospital, you got like HIPAA and HICA and whatever all the acronyms are. Or it's a school and you want to make sure that they're compliant with state regulations. And then law-wise, you can make sure that while you're reviewing all the policies that they're following the laws. So there's a lot of ways to get into cyber with that as well. Got one up in the back.
Regarding to patents, how does cybersecurity actually protect patents from getting infringed within cyber attacks?
I think I understand your question. So is cyber protecting a patent, like?
Yes, ma'am.
For like the next iPhone
Yeah, that's
kind of?
the
Okay.
question.
Cyber would be preventative. So while they're developing the patent, you're making sure that your network, your device, maybe you're forwarding back and forth, updated documents for the patent. Let's just say we're working together. We're making sure that it's encrypted whenever we send the email. But if it's company to company, and let's just say Blackswan is their service provider, and we see any suspicious activity, that would be how cyber could help. After the fact, it's kind of public record once it's been submitted and accepted. But as long as there's the developmental process, it is up to the individuals and maybe their cyber providers to make sure that everything's secure.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hello?
There you
go. I was curious about how would I access quantum computing like locally so I don't have to go to an actual site. I heard there's like clouds or something that are accessible via the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just curious, how would I go about learning or practicing that?
So I would go look at maybe some videos or some accounts of people who have done it, and look at the resources that they use. Because I do know that some aspects of quantum computing aren't necessarily easily accessible by the public for good reason. But maybe there's some simulations or some labs online that you could kind of work through some things with, as well as reviewing some of the people who work with it, seeing if there's anything that they do that would be applicable.
So YouTube is a good shot, and
YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Reddit, Discord. I don't know what the new popular app is for sharing at the moment, but YouTube was without a doubt.
All right, appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Hi. You talked a lot about making your resume like personable and leaving out any experience or information that might not be relevant to the job. Would you also recommend that for like other kinds of internships or like just in general that most employers or people who are considering your internship application, they like just want the stuff that has to do with that?
Yes. That doesn't mean take the whole job off. It just means don't expand on it as much. And so on my resume, I mean, it slightly says event coordinator at Metroplex, but it's not very big, it's not very flashy, but my experience at Cyber Defense Lab, Cyber Defense Center, and Blackswan are giant compared to. And I make sure that when I put a description underneath each role, it only relates to the job description. So anything that I do at CDC matches their role. So the same thing with the other two. What it does is it kind of shortens your resume to be very specific. It highlights how you're applicable to the role. And in that, make sure that you're using the same terminology. So if they call it an analyst instead of a data analyst, make sure that the language is pretty similar as well.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Can you hear me? Hello, Kyla. I had a question about the quantum computing. Can you expand on that and how that relates to cyber defense and security?
Not in detail.
Okay, all right.
I know enough to know what it is, but not enough to explain it, if that makes sense.
Okay, all righty. Thank you.
Okay, I think we're going to cut it off there, but I do know that she'll be available afterwards for more questions, but we have just a couple of things. Greg, go ahead.
Just want to say thanks so much for coming. I mean, wow, right? What a talk, right? I mean, amazing, right? Thank you so much. We have a couple things we wanted to give you as appreciation for coming out. A little gift bag there. And also a certificate of appreciation from the STEM division. We really appreciate you coming out here. Thank you so much. It's awesome. I think Kyla is going to be able to say there's a table in the back behind you, an orange table with an orange tablecloth on it, the IT tablecloth. So just wanted to, she's going to be around for a little bit to kind of interact with some of you. I know you had some great questions for her. Really, really appreciate that. And man, what a talk. I mean, my gracious, right? I did want to just mention a little shameless plug. Kyla mentioned the importance of IT certifications. And we in the Northwest IT department, we have our undergraduate side. We also have a continuing education side. And I know some of my students are like, here he goes. But we do have the prep programs for the CompTIA A+, Net Plus, and Security Plus. And a shameless plug for the Northwest IT Club. We're starting up a Capture the Flag team, which she also mentioned. So hey, one-stop shop, we got all you need, right? So thanks again, Kyla. We really appreciate it.
And then if I can add, before you leave, we would really appreciate it if you would complete this student engagement survey for us. I personally don't like doing surveys, but I'm begging you to do this one because it helps us as a school know how events like this, how you feel about them, right? So if you will please, please, please do that survey, we would really appreciate it. And then, as Greg said, Kyla will be sitting at the IT table. Remember, we also have a library table if you want to look at the resources available. And then Christina Singh is sitting back there. We have a QEP pathways table where she's talking about all the opportunities within the STEM pathway. So you might want to check that out as well. All right, thank you all for coming.